Hello, everybody. I am Lauren Weinberg, former psychologist turned full time empowerment and well being coach. I am the becoming coach. I help you become exactly who you most want to be.
Hi, and I'm Melanie McLeod, and I am a professional certified coach, and I specialize in spiritual business coaching. Welcome to Talking Transformation Live.
Where
Except today, we're not live.
today we're not live, but we will still always have real talk in real time because we run through our unrehearsed conversations and it's always for real people, right? Because we're real people and our audience is just real people. This is just regular folk having conversations.
Absolutely. So hopefully you can tune in. We'll be back live again next week, and we hope to see all of you here then. In the meantime, but feel free to post any comments or any comments that you want to make, and also please subscribe. So, how are you today, Lauren?
Oh, I am great today. It is a beautiful first tinge of autumn in the air, beautiful breezy day, sunny here in the Philadelphia area. How are you,
Absolutely.
Mel?
Absolutely. I feel the sunshine coming through the window as we speak. So absolutely. It's a wonderful, beautiful day. So when we talk about beautiful days and things like that, we also have to talk about things that aren't always as beautiful.
Yeah.
And so today's topic is something that I think is real and something that touches each and every person on a very deep level. And so I think it's something that is just important to talk about how we can accept this particular emotion or thing in our life.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about grief. We're going to be talking about grief and loss in all different kinds of forms. And we're going to be looking for the lessons learned because, these are conversations about change, right? That's what talking transformation is all about. And, any kind of loss creates a shift within us and it does bring change. And just like any other moment in our life, there's options, right? We have the choice whether to sort of get stuck in that emotion or to look at what we can learn and take from that experience that will help us to change and evolve as we move forward.
And I'd also like to add just even being able to acknowledge,
Yeah.
because I know for some of us, and even I've been guilty of it, I never had time for grief.
Mm.
It was always the minute that something happened, I was that person who stepped in and made sure everybody is taken care of and everything is taken care of. And I'm busy doing, and taking care of that. You don't realize that you don't take the time to feel that emotion and it gets stuffed. And when those emotions and grief gets stuffed, it can really severely affect you in ways you don't even know it's affecting you.
Well, absolutely. Look, distraction, busyness, that's a form of coping and it can be a form of escape. And it really serves us well to distract us from the moment at hand. And sometimes the emotions are so overwhelming, we just know if we give into it, we're going to cease functioning. And we don't always have the choice in that moment to do that. But like you said, if you don't deal with it, if you don't fully give expression, it backs up on you. And, all the things that we take in that are difficult, right? Whether it's grief and then it compiles on the stress we have in our regular life, they're all drops in our bucket. But eventually that bucket spills over, right? Like I'm saying, it backs up on you. And then it's a free for all, then it's a flood. Then you don't really have that space to necessarily deal with it in a productive manner.
Yeah. And I like the word productive because I think that crying is great, but We cry when we cry with a purpose, when we cry with intention, when we cry with knowing what it's connected to. It can be very cleansing. But when
Yeah.
you are at the point where you've bottled things up and you're screaming or you're crying and you don't even know what it's connected to, you don't know what you're feeling, you don't know anything, that to me is not as productive. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to own and claim our feelings.
Absolutely. I was just having this conversation with somebody else today, actually, a potential client, and we were talking about how, like you said, things, that they back up on you and then they're happening by surprise and you're not connecting the dots. So you might have all this emotion, all this grief and heartache. Okay, so a lot of people saw King Charles, now King Charles, have a fit over getting some ink on his hands from his fountain pen. And a lot of people were saying, oh, he doesn't have the temperament to be king, or, that he has these, he's not mature enough to take on this responsibility at 70. No,
73, yeah.
but but the truth is, like, what I felt for him in that moment is just a moment of grace. Like, he just lost his mother. He has to take on all of this responsibility without having any opportunity to process the emotion of the loss. Of course, something like getting ink on your hand is going to be the last drop. It's going to be the thing that sets you off. And most people they weren't looking at it with compassion, saying, of course, he's going to have a fit over something. He hasn't been able to at all process his grief. But that's how I saw it. I saw it as just that last drop in the bucket that spilled over, and he was having maybe a reaction he would never normally have about something small, but it wasn't
Yeah.
about something small.
Right, because they're groomed that you don't show, this emotion over anything. And I can relate to that because I
Yeah.
grew up with, being a sissy or being girly if you cry. So,
Mm.
if you cry, you're weak and it's associated with anything that's weak. And so I prided myself in never crying. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be happy, sad. It doesn't matter. You don't cry. So it's like big girls don't cry is a song. Big girls don't cry. And I connected to that. I was like, big girls don't cry, so I can't cry. And I did myself a disservice for many years because I never allowed myself to connect to that feeling of grief because I was too strong to show emotion. We're fine. I'm fine. I wasn't fine.
You weren't
And
fine.
I would never ever tell anybody that not crying is a good thing. It's a good thing you're a strong person. No, no, you're a strong person when you can accept the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs in life. And when you're happy, you can laugh and not be ashamed of it. And when you're sad, you can cry and not be ashamed of it.
Well, isn't this true, right? I mean, I think that first of all, I don't know that you did yourself a disservice. It's the learning that you had, and just like anything else, we take these messages in throughout our lifetime from our families, from the people we see around us, from the media, from society, and it teaches us how we're, supposed to be. I'm making air quotes because because what is supposed to be. I was lucky that I had a different experience. I remember when my grandfather passed, I was 10, and I think that was the first time that I had really seen my dad crying. And he hugged me and he said to me, "It's all right that I'm crying." He said, "I'm sad. You cry when you're sad. Like, it's good to let it out." And that was such an important lesson that I had learned. That in the moment he was able to own the feeling and give into it and state it, name it. It was such a gift that he gave me, but I was lucky to have that gift because I think a lot of people don't. And that's why they end up in therapy or in coaching, because as a society, we're not taught the important work of processing our emotions.
Hugely important. I remember when I was a little girl around that age as well, my father was sitting in the kitchen with the light out
Mm,
and he wouldn't let me turn the light on. And that
wow.
was the first time that I could see the silhouette that he had a tear, but I was not allowed to see it and he would not admit it. He just
What
would
a
not let me turn the light on.
wow. What a powerful experience, right? That's a visceral experience. And I'm sure that you were probably a little scared as a child, right?
I felt like I knew because I grew up with that. You don't show your feelings and emotions, so I think I kind of knew that in my mind, my little mind, Daddy was being strong because he wasn't
Mm,
letting anybody see him be upset.
yeah. You know, it our look, everybody does the best that they can. Everybody does. And our parents, I think that the biggest gift that we can give ourselves is understanding that our parents did the best that they could with the tools that they had,
Yeah,
right? If we forgive the flaws, because all of us are flawed. And even when we think about it so much, I think about my niece who measures every word that she says to her child. She's still going to get things wrong. And maybe thinking so much about what you say is the wrong thing too. You know, there's never going to be parenting that's 100% right.
no, it isn't, and I think that that's why we become our own parents at some point, and we have to be able to say, I need to nurture that little girl, and I need to give her the things that other folks couldn't give her, but that's okay because we receive so much from everyone that we meet, good or bad, whether it's lessons of things to do or things not to do, there's still lessons. And so we can be grateful for the lessons that we learn from whoever we learn them from. But moving forward, we need to parent ourselves. We need to give ourselves the permission to be and feel whatever we choose.
Absolutely. And to maybe grieve that perfect childhood that we didn't have, right? And that's okay. You can do that and then move on. Because I think the lessons learned through all of this is to experience the emotion and then take a look and say, what have I learned through going through this situation? And people don't always think about that, that there's lessons to be learned from either a loss of somebody that we love, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a business. These are all opportunities to learn lessons. They're all opportunities for growth. And when you can look at all things in life as asking yourself, how is this happening for me and not to me? So
Yeah.
that you can look to extract those lessons, that's where you can take the strength from a difficult situation
Yeah.
and let it help you grow as a person and move
I,
forward. But
I
the
agree.
point is not to get stuck there.
I agree. And I think also you have to look at what are you grieving because grieving is not necessarily always the loss of a person. It can be loss of your life as you've known it. You know, you could move from one city to another and grieve your life as you knew it. You know, you can break up with a partner and have, grief.
Right?
You can stop smoking and grieve the loss of having something that's been in your life for years and years and years and years, and now all of a sudden it's not there for you.
You feel at a loss. You feel at a loss. And I think that that's part of what grief is, right? And not we're not talking necessarily about the 5 stages of grief. You know, people can look that up, Kubler-Ross or whatever, but it's that experience that not only have you lost, but you feel at a loss. Aren't sure how to pick the pieces up. And it's through figuring that out. It's through taking those baby steps forward because you will. You will find yourself again. You will find your footing again. And it's through that process that you learn about your strengths. You learn about who's really there for you in your life. You learn that at the bottom, after all the crying, there's positive memory to be found there. You learn that there's lessons about how not to do things and how to do things better the next time. There's so much to learn and take from this experience that can help you move forward. The trouble comes when people don't look for that. They don't allow themselves to even take those baby steps forward. Sometimes because they feel like it's dishonoring the memory of the person that they've, especially if it's a person that they've lost.
I agree. So I think there's a whole lot that can be done. I do highly recommend, when you have a profound loss in your life, no matter what it is, that you do reach out for support, because there are so many support groups, there's coaching, there's therapy, there's so many avenues that can really help you and support you and guide you through a healthy process that can lead you to the other side so that you can begin to look at that loss and that grief in a completely different way and be able to turn the feelings into memories and into things that can make you smile instead of make you sad.
Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And, just to know that I love that you said reach out for support because you're never alone. There's always people, even though your situation is unique and maybe what you've lost might be unique to you, grief is not unique. Experiencing loss is not unique. It's one of the basic human emotions that we all experience very powerfully. And when you reach out to other people and hear that they've experienced something like that, similar, it's like a lifeline being thrown to you.
Absolutely. So it was great conversation, Lauren, and I look forward to next week's topic. We're going to keep it a little secret and hope that everyone will come back next time and see what our conversation will be about. In
But
the
we will
meantime,
be live. So please try to join us Mondays at 5. We would love to have you as part of the conversation. And in the meantime, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. You can subscribe, you can leave a comment for us in the comment section and help to keep the conversation going, or you can reach Melanie and I directly at talkingtransformationlive@gmail.com or through one of our websites, lastingchangewellness.com or coachusolutions.com.
absolutely. Look forward to seeing all of you next week. Bye bye.
Take care.